Hi everyone, welcome to Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself Sonali Modi from Community Outreach Team of ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. At ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer, we guide cancer patients on adopting an integrative oncology treatment approach. We help them find the balance between medical treatment and complementary treatment approaches, and we also help our patients with our team of oncologists, lab experts, nutritionists, and other healthcare professionals so that we can guide them for a better future. And we also help in connecting patients with other cancer warriors who have gone through this journey to address their queries. We also share inspirational journeys to motivate cancer warriors who are going through this journey. So, firstly, I would like to introduce you to today's speaker, Mr. Leighton Morris. He's a cancer warrior. I'm happy that you're here with us today to share your story. So, over to you, Leighton. Please start with your introduction.
Right, thank you very much. So my name is Leighton Morris. I'm based in the UK. I'm 48 years young, and it's quite apt we're doing this sort of this week because Friday just gone. It was 10-year anniversary that I actually got diagnosed with my cancer. So it's been a topic of conversation all weekend, really. Sort of reliving how it was prior to sort of how life is now. So at the age of 38, at the age of 37, I was going downhill and we couldn't put our finger on it. The doctors were unsure. It was looking like it was along the lines of ulcerative colitis. I was anemic to a point where they don't know how I was going day to day. And I was sort of showing all those symptoms which lined up with ulceritis or celiacs. My cancer markers came back as negative at the time of testing. So I had a CT scan just prior to a colonoscopy and a second endoscopy. The CT scan, I was told on the morning of the cameras, actually showed some shadowing at the entrance of my bowel. And my consultant at the time said, look, personally, I think you've got 6, maybe 12 polyps. And would you like me to remove them? And I said, look, you know what you're doing. I'll let you, as a professional, do what you think is best, and left him to it. So the endoscopy showed about 800 polyps in my stomach. And as I was led on the bed for the colonoscopy, I had the camera and I had the TV in sight so I could watch it. And as the camera went in, I was like, right, that's 6, that's 12. Right, we're now more than 12. Anyway, whilst going through the procedure, everything stopped. I heard Mr. Habubi pick up the phone, and about 3-4 minutes later, I heard the door open. What they discovered, I had 2,500 plus polyps in my small intestine. The first for himself in 28 years, but also very much, he said, the first for him was he actually called the surgeon down, because if the surgeon didn't see it for himself, he knew he wouldn't believe him. And so sort of, I like to be unique, and it certainly was the case. So the 4th of November 2011 is when we discovered why I was so ill. And then the 28th of November is when I had my sort of stoma fitted, had the cancer cut away, and sort of 10 years on now, sort of living life to the full, and hasn't, like, the cancer itself hasn't actually reared its head in any format whatsoever. So yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, so like, can you share how this news was disclosed to you and your family?
Pretty bluntly, no. Well, I came out from the theatre for the 2 cameras. We sat down, the surgeon came down and sat down with myself, and at the time, and we waited for my wife then to come in. And we sort of sat down, he explained what had been found and discovered, and sort of highlighted that, okay, you've got 2,500 polyps plus in your small intestine. However, only one was irregular in its shape and in its size. So I sort of, I turned around to him and said, sort of, with your professional sort of hat on, your experience, that one irregular cell, would you say it was cancer? And he sort of said, in all honesty, if I was a betting man, I would put my house on, yes, it is. And I actually turned around, I said, thank you. And he's like, no, hang on a minute. I said, no, you've got cancer. I said, yeah. But I said, prior to coming into this appointment today, I just felt it was all in my head. I want something that we could actually just go and attack, go and have to fight against, because at least then we knew there was something which was causing the way I was feeling. Because I was struggling to go day to day, and it answered the questions, and it gave me something that I could actually focus on. And it's really strange. I still see it now to this day, 10 years on. When I actually had that conversation, he said, yes, I think it's cancer. And I see my reply in like a bit of an out of body experience, that I can see all this weight came off my shoulders. And I actually felt as if I left there like 2 stone lighter. So yeah, it was sort of the majority of persons, it would have broken them, whereas it gave me something to actually fight. And then sort of subsequently, I discovered then 6 months later, I bumped into the local restaurant, and a friend was in there who's a surgeon, and he'd been following my case all along. And he goes, I sat in on a seminar today by Dr. Habubi. I said, I'd love to see him in action. He goes, no, you wouldn't have wanted to see this one. That's like, why is that? And he goes, well, the paper he's written and he was discussing was you. He said, okay, it hasn't got your name against it. However, because I've been following your story, I knew it was you that were talking about. I said, oh, no, I'd love to. He said, no, I know, because you would actually then realize you shouldn't be alive. The probability of you being alive, because of the quantity of everything, and he said, yeah, I think it'd shock you too much. So yeah, so I've had a paper written about myself. I just haven't read the contents yet.
Yeah. So at what age and at what stage was your cancer diagnosed?
Very early. It was very early on, and that was more to do with myself being very, very persistent with the medical practitioners that I was dealing with, because I knew something wasn't right. The first appointment I went to, my actual GP was on holiday. So I saw another partner within the practice, and I'd got to a point where I was having 24 mouth ulcers. Like over here, many moons ago, we had a coin which was sort of a half-penny coin. And they were literally, that would be like the smallest of size. So I got to a point where I couldn't eat. I was struggling even to drink something because the discomfort and the pain in the mouth. So I went to see this particular doctor, and he just turned and said, well, you got to get used to it. And that was literally all he had to say in reply. But fortunately, my regular GP, so I like to see the same doctor every time, because you get to build a relationship. They get to know you. I walked in through the door. As I walked through, she said, you're anemic, go next door, let's get your blood sorted. And it just shows how the medical trade for yourself is only as good as the person that's in front of you. And sort of Dr. Mahmood was absolutely fantastic. And I was fortunate then. Every professional I had at the different stages of my sort of diagnosis through to sort of the outcomes have all been very much top of the tree and top of the trade. So I've been spoiled in a nice way. However, if I had just taken my first appointment sort of for word, then yeah, simply I wouldn't be here now, because the cancer would have gone too quick, and sort of we're literally just been fighting fire with fire, really.
So like what treatment have you undergone? Like, share your experience about the treatment time.
Yeah, because we did catch because we caught my cancer early on. Fortunately, it hadn't spread through the lymph nodes or into any other parts. That I literally just had a single cell which needed to be removed. But then, as like an insurance policy, I was given chemotherapy for 6 months, but it was in the tablet form. So it was a hard 6 months. It wasn't easy, and I very much I have sort of long-lasting sort of reactions now from the chemo, and like the cancer just being sort of gone and not having to worry about it. Whereas now I have what I sort of class as sort of like baby brain, like when a sort of when a lady has a baby, those early stages become very forgetful. Well, I'm very much like that, but on a daily basis. I have neuropathy pain now in my feet and in my hands, because the chemo has killed the nerve endings. So like my feet are constantly on fire and in pain. It's just, I was told the positive thing is not going to get any worse, but the negative and the downside is that it's not going to get any better. So that's just sort of something which sort of having to live with now.
Like chemotherapy is a very tough routine. So can you please share your experience and how you coped with it, and what all difficulties you faced during that time?
I think that through that period of time, it was a mixture of having to build myself up again, because I'd lost close to 3 stone. So I was literally just sort of bone and flesh. So it was a case of trying to build myself up on that front at the same time as having no appetite via sort of the side effects of the chemo. One thing I didn't learn until it was too late is that the reproduction of the cells on my feet was too slow. So when I had the strength and the energy, I went away for a weekend up to London, and we walk, like myself and my wife, we walk everywhere. And sort of, we'd started off like South Kensington, walked through to get to Shaftesbury Avenue, to the theatre. And when I got there, I just couldn't get my boots off quick enough. And then I struggled getting them back on. And when we got to the hotel, my feet had just blistered. I had like golf ball sized blisters on my toes. So again, the side effects from the chemo there, but it wasn't pleasant. I had to have spells. I had spells where I'd have to sort of take 3 weeks off, because the skin just wasn't coping. So yeah, it was a long 6 months, very long 6 months. And it's always the same. When you start, you think you're never going to see the end of it, but sort of it does come eventually.
Yeah. So from where did you get your support system along with the family?
My support through sort of the NHS, family and friends is fantastic. Yeah, it's sort of, it's when you're sort of very much at a low point like that, you certainly see who like your true friends and true friends are and sort of things like that, and you see how good like the NHS for ourselves is. So yeah, it was. Hey, I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. I had very good from the day of diagnosis through to even now. The support is like fantastic.
Yeah. So what do people need to expect when they get this cancer type?
To be honest, I think I would go one step before that, and something I very much sort of bang the drum for is the fact of, you know your body better than anybody else. If you think something's not right, then go and get it checked out. If that first experience you have you don't think is correct, then go and get a second opinion. But with bowel cancer comes in so many different shapes and sizes. I've seen persons with it and it's actually ripped them apart, not so much physically, but it's the mental, it's dealing with the mental aspects. I was just so desperate to have an answer that I totally approached it with a positive outset, and very much that positive attitude, I think, was a large part of beating it. But for anybody, don't be scared to cry out for help and support. That support is what's going to get you through those very dark days. And cancer, I've seen the positive side to it. I've seen the ugly side to it. Unfortunately, it's had a number of family members, and I suppose the downside with cancer is it can go one day, but it can also reappear. So again, it's sort of don't bury your head in the sand if you think something's wrong. It's go and seek that advice.
Yes. So, like, did you make any lifestyle changes during or after the treatment?
My life from the cancer has changed completely, in the sense of sort of the cancer. I ended up with a permanent stoma because we had to remove so much that sort of because of the removal of the rectum and items like that within my body, I can't have a reversal. So overnight, I sort of saw the world slightly different because of suddenly there's like barriers with disabled toilets and the way the persons perceive you if you're coming out of a disabled toilet, etc. That 4 years ago, I met my business partner now, and we very much work in the sector of accessibility and disability, and sort of around mental health. I very much do talks sort of around sort of dealing with having a condition. But we very much, we're out to make change, but in a positive way, and sort of speak out for those that haven't got the strength or the personality to be able to go and challenge things. So yeah, we like to be a thorn in the side.
Yeah. So, like, what all things helped you in your recovery?
It's the recovery only happened really by actually resting. So my first operation was 9 weeks of literally doing nothing. It was a case of sort of just getting myself strong again. But when you're self-employed and you work for yourself, resting isn't always the easiest things to do, because that costs money. And like over a 2-year period, I had 6 months of no wage because I had the operation 10 years ago, but then 9 years ago, then like a year later, I had to have the rectum removed, which was like a 16-week process of recovery. But the problem is, if you don't recover, the body won't repair itself correctly, and you just end up doing more long-term damage. So yeah, it was a lot of Complan, which is sort of like a meal in a drink over here, because the appetite wasn't there. So it was a case of getting all the fiber and the nutrients into the body, which was required, and sort of doing what the doctors told me to do, rather than just thinking, oh yeah, I'm fine, I can just crack on again after a week. I on the operation, I went in on the Monday. I was home by the Thursday. I was up and walking well enough for the doctors to discharge me. But yeah, it was being all about being sensible for a change.
Yes. So, like, how was the experience with your doctors and other medical staff?
I'm very lucky. Like my actual surgeon, I still literally see on a weekly basis, because he shops in my local supermarket. So I literally get a consultation every week when I see him, just check everything's all right. Because my actual cancer came about via a condition referred to as F.A.P. So I developed polyps for fun. I still do now. So I'm under like a leading sort of doctor that specializes with that particular condition. So I'm actually I'm in the system for life, which is good. The hard bit's always getting into the system, but I get a 6-month checkup. So for myself, I'm very lucky that it is sort of regular, regular appointments, an annual endoscopy, so we can very much gauge if there's any developments in anything.
You know, during such times, everyone needs a support, and at those times, we have our caregivers with you. So, can you share your experience and thoughts about your caregivers?
For myself, I suppose it's easier to say what I do now rather than them, because I suppose for myself, I didn't have that negative outlook about it all, so I was very much in a good place. But now I very much offer counselling and sort of help support to persons that are now being diagnosed with bowel cancer, or alternatively, if they've just had ileostomy surgery. So this weekend, I've had 2 people reach out. One is a lady in her 70s with bowel cancer, and having to have a double ileostomy. And then I've got a gentleman, like a teacher, not far off my sort of age, who's just, again, being diagnosed with bowel cancer. So again, it's just sort of, I'll meet up over a coffee or over a Zoom call, just have a chat, sort of let them know of the support structure that is there and how good the NHS is to help them, and just sort of really be there in any way I can.
Yes. You know, every crisis in life teaches you a particular lesson. Like, so what life lessons you got from your cancer journey?
Ooh, what did I learn? Funny enough, in fact, it's not on this wall in here. I've got quotes all around our offices, which I got all the staff to do when we were redecorating. And mine is, every cloud's got a silver lining. And very much, I believe in that philosophy. I don't know. One, it made me slow down a little bit. And it gave me, I don't know, it's given me a real good purpose in life with regards to business. I've always sort of valued time with family. that sort of, for a lot of people, it sort of makes them stop doing what they're doing and suddenly spend like 1 day a week with like the children. Whereas for myself, I changed the whole work ethic when my son was born anyway. But I suppose it just don't take tomorrow's granted, really. We never know what's around the corner. I always jokingly say, just as long as it's not an articulated lorry on the wrong side of the road, then I'm happy. But yeah, it's this way. Live for today, not tomorrow.
So it's a very good saying that live for today, not tomorrow. And
Definitely.
so, yeah. So how do you like relax or calm down yourself?
Red wine.
Yes.
I love sport.
Okay.
I play wheelchair rugby. I play golf, and just sort of, it's sort of, I suppose really it's just trying to take time out from work is sort of the best way of relaxing, and just trying to switch off.
So an act of kindness that you will never forget.
My best mate actually paying for my first meal that I went out for. First lunch I went out for after my surgery. He never puts his hand in his pocket. And he actually did. So yeah, I'll never forget that one.
Yeah. So what was your first reaction when your reports were finally showing that you're cancer free now?
Do you know, I suppose the attitude I have is that the minute they cut that cancer out on the 28th of November, I saw myself as cancer free. So it was very much, for me, it'd been cut away, it'd gone. I didn't really think about it. In fact, the only time I then thought about it was with one of the follow-up appointments with my surgeon, who turned around and said, "Oh, your biopsy's back. Yes, it was cancer, and we can't find cancer in your lymph nodes around the area." So that was the only real time, I suppose, I thought about it after that surgery. So yeah, so certainly, no looking back.
Yeah. So do you still go for prescribed checkups?
Cancer-wise, no, not really. It's more if I know something's not right, then I've got literally an open appointment with my specialists. So I can literally just ring them up. The last 10 years, it's been a pretty straightforward sort of straightforward recovery. It's just dealing with the side effects of the chemo, really, more than anything else.
Gratitude seems to be the biggest strength for this kind of situation. So what were you ever so grateful for that made you always calm down and thinking of revisiting that memory again?
I suppose the fact of still being here. I could have quite easily buried the head, not done anything about it, and it'd been too late. Whereas that early prevention has allowed me just to sort of appreciate everything I've got and everything that's possible.
Yeah. So how do you actually reward yourself after you achieve any goal?
How do I reward myself? I suppose it's just sort of give myself time out, making sure sort of do the sport and other things sort of away from the working life, and sort of just just sort of embrace everything, really.
Yes. So how is actually your life after cancer?
Hey, just same as before.
Okay, no change.
Well, hey, there's a lot of change, but sort of sleep deprivation is a big one. but I wasn't a particularly great sleeper beforehand, but it's just there's going to be no solution to the pain in the feet, for example. So that is one of the big differences since the cancer, and but hey, that to me is sort of like a small price to pay in reflection to everything else. So yeah, it's just sort of battle on and ignore certain elements.
So what would be your message to other cancer survivors and caregivers?
Survivors, embrace your life, enjoy today. For carers, just remember, sort of, some survivors do struggle. They do have the mental health aspects to deal with after sort of such diagnosis, and for a lot of people it's very intrusive sort of surgery with some real long-term like healing. But like if a person has a bad day, it's not aimed at you. They're just sort of in that sort of situation at the time. And it's unfortunately it's those that are close to you are the ones that feel the brunt of it more than anybody else. So yeah, so for the carer, not to take things personally.
So like, what have you learned over the years that would lead you to a better future?
Oh, I'm a very wise person. There's nothing more I could learn. No, it's just sort of grab if an opportunity comes along, grab it. Sort of don't really have sort of regrets later on.
Okay, yeah. So how do you like help others, and how do you feel more positive?
I like to think that I provide a positive story around such a grey, black and horrible area, which then sort of gives others hope that there is something better after. Over the 10 years, I've done a fair bit of fundraising for bowel cancer, especially. It's certainly one thing. When I was recovering from the first operation, when I was in the hospital in the bed, I wanted to sort of start challenging myself with things that I didn't do before. Like I hate heights. I'm not a fan of heights at all, so I did a skydive. There's possibility I may be going to the Antarctic next year for like a week expedition, which is certainly something I wouldn't have done beforehand. Whereas now I like to test, like sort of push myself outside the barriers, really.
Yes. Yeah. So what do you think are the stigmas attached to cancer and the importance of awareness for it?
I think the one thing is, if somebody's told they've got cancer, they think automatically they're going to die. And cancer treatments have come on so far now that for a lot of persons it just tends to be a blip in their journey. But I think the one thing I took from it, and one thing I try to encourage others, is just approach it with that positive mental attitude, and that'll give you so much more of the strength. I've seen persons where they just automatically take that negative approach against it, and that approach literally is what kills them, really, not the cancer. They just sort of give up and sort of give into it rather than just sort of take it on and just fight it.
Yes, that's a perfect saying, because we should take what comes by rather than like focusing on things and focusing on negativity around us. We should like look at the positive outcome.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Sort of sort of just sort of, but hey, even if it's a case of somebody just pictures something that they want to do after their treatment, at least have that one thing to focus on, which gives them that encouragement to sort of, yeah, I can get through this.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you like manage your personal and professional life?
Many persons tell me I don't. Work-wise, it's sort of, I've got support around me at home. I've got support around me at work. I can have bad days. I have far more good days, but I can have a bad day where I feel drained, or I'm in pain, and those around me know that. Then sort of they'll just ply me with coffee, and sort of that sort of, there's always an ear to chew if need be. But it's just remembering, for anybody in my situation, you know, there's always support around you, and don't be sort of scared to reach out if you're having a bad day.
Yes. So if you have to sum up your journey in one sentence, then what would that be?
My journey in one sentence. Suppose a roller coaster, but with a positive outcome.
Yeah. So at ZenOnco.io, we work towards betterment of cancer patients through integrated oncology. So what are your thoughts on the same?
Sorry, what was that question again?
So at ZenOnco.io, like we help cancer patients through our integrated oncology treatment approach. So what are your thoughts on the same?
I think that there's different approaches for everybody. Like there's some persons that don't want a medical, they've got that fear sort of thing around sort of being cut up, etc., that they will try and source something in a more holistic sort of way. I think it's everybody, for the individual, it's a case of finding a way, one that possibly has positive outcomes for the cancer that they're living with, but then also one which they feel so more at ease to go down.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I hope this session really motivates like people out there who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. So it was really inspiring. Yes, your story is really inspiring, Leighton. And thank you so much for your valuable time. So
Hey, thank you.
yeah, thank you so much.